So the presented operational budget is at 31,747,588.
Increase of
$464,000. 160. Anybody have any say?
I mean, I guess for me, I just keep coming back to the surplus. You know, that it seems to me that there's a minimum surplus that we feel like, you know, and I know there's a range, clearly, from what you presented last night, but it's hard to take, and I know John last night talked a little bit how in the future we might be able to handle that, but.
Well, I don't know why we haven't approached it yet. I mean, every year we seem to have a big
Right.
surplus, and it seems to be that
Right.
particular part, which I understand.
But then there's nothing we can,
But every time it seems like, I don't know, after X amount of years of pretty large surpluses, to me, I think I want to try to figure out how to avoid having a surplus, because that's what everybody complains about. I mean, you know, salaries are salaries and whatever, operation's operation, but, you know, I'm not talking about my, well, to go on with her, she's saying. So we have somewhere between 380 and 450 surplus for 1450, so average is 415. And then you have an extra 464,000 this year, so basically that's, the difference there is at 879,000. So, I'm like, really, that's what the difference is, if that's what the surplus is going to be. And so and that's a big, in my opinion, that's a big difference. I would, and I don't, you know, I'm sure you guys did all your, you know, it's much better coming in than last year. I forget what the original
yeah, it's much.
thing, and you know, it looks to me like a tighter budget, but I think every year we seem to have a large surplus, and I understand we're going to have some, at least we hope. But you know, like that, the minimum thing that we can't go below that. I think it should just stay at whatever the minimum. Yeah.
I know, with the decline in enrollment, I mean, this year you're down 67 students from what you had last year. Next year it's projected to be down another 47 students. I mean, as far as just in the opinion of the general public doesn't see any reason for expanding the Board of Education budget. People that I've spoken to all think with the decline in enrollment that these two things should even themselves out. You're talking over 100 students difference in the space of 2 years. And it is very hard to justify expenditures beyond salary increases. And with, I know you can't like pull 5 teachers from the general teacher population. It doesn't translate that well. But I think if there's ever a year when there is slim justification for increasing the budget after the budget surplus of last year and a projected surplus for this year, my recommendation would be to observe the minimum budget requirement. I went to a Connecticut Council of Municipalities meeting a month or so ago, 2 months ago, and the consensus of opinion there was, A, the towns were going to be going with minimum budget requirement, and their concerns were how to justify spending back to a level of enrollment and students that no longer exists. So not only were they concerned about, I mean, they weren't even, the discussion of increasing the budget didn't come up. They were concerned with how to spend what they already had.
And what municipalities were those?
Well,
No,
the whole state.
none.
This
Everything you read in the paper, everything between 3 and 6% that I've seen in increases in education budgets, requested increases.
Requested
Now-
increases. These were the finance directors of these towns.
It doesn't matter. I'm just telling you what the requested increases. If you read the register every day and or the current and see what these towns are coming in with requested budget increase in education between 3 and
You can
6%.
request whatever you want.
But here's my point. Well, I understand what you just said, and I heard what you said, but you did say one caveat to what you said about MBR. I understand besides salary increases. So the salary increases alone are $330,000 in this budget.
And there was a $700,000 surplus last year.
That's last year, this is this year going forward.
Approximately, you're
So,
approximating
so do you want to
$400,000.
reduce it to what the salary increases are?
That's contained within the budget.
No, I'm saying, like, you would increase the budget by 333.94 if you just kept the salary increases in.
No,
No.
I was redoing to figure out how to get to your MBR. If it was me doing the budget,
Oh.
you know, like, I have a budget, for my new we gotta spend this much. If we don't, you have X. I mean,
Yeah, you can do, yeah.
and I understand it goes back to the town, but the taxpayers still have to pay that money. It never goes back to the taxpayer. It's not like the surplus gets just skewed.
You're recommending us to cut
I don't know,
$464,164.
I'm just saying.
No,
You gotta have a number, you can't just say, I don't know.
Let's leave
You gotta have a
cut
plan.
out of it. Our recommendation is to go with the MVR.
The MVR would be 31,747,588 if you went back to last year's budget, which would be a $464,000 cut from what was requested.
That's 3,000 times 67.
Not going there, I'm just going with
That's the
flat.
MBR.
The MBR hasn't been established at
Right.
this point. It based-
Because the cost per pupil goes up annually
Well,
too.
they haven't done the calculations for MBR at this point. So a base for it at this point would be last year's budget, plus any ECS increase, and then the differential. It's not based on our enrollment projections, but it's based on resident students in the state for last year to this year, to this current year. So the 67 isn't an accurate number.
What's an accurate number?
They haven't calculated it yet. If I knew that, I would be projecting that.
So we have a budget presented before us of 31,747,588 operating, and when you include your debt service and your capital, it goes up to 33,40,331. 33,040,331. That's what's presented. Just like in the new library. Does anybody have any suggestions? And the suggestions can't be specific to this, that, or the other thing. You suggest, do you want to cut a number? Do you want to leave it the same? And it can't be a theory, it's got to be a number. You can, well, I like this, I like that, but give me a number, say a number.
What was?
Nobody wants to say a number, everybody wants to say, well,
What was the number last year, Willie?
31, the operating budget was 31.
The whole thing.
for-
Well,
31 million.
283,426, that's the operating.
That's the operating.
What was?
No, 31, yeah, 31,283,427. That was the operating.
If you can't adjust to salary increases, you have to cut 137,600.
134, just under 134,000. The salary increases are
From the
333,994.
total operating side of the budget.
We can't say operating or and or other, it's just a number. It would be 130, it would be 133,800 and change. To cut it, to just to take into account the salary increases.
If you give me those numbers, I'll make that motion.
Dear God, you think it can work?
So I
Any other discussion? I mean, does anybody want to talk about any other, I mean, I don't know.
You know, last year,
Sorry, I just can't do it.
No.
Go ahead,
I was going to say that last year, when the Board of Ed presented their budget with the total increase, I mean, I got to be honest, it was beyond what I thought was reasonable and sensible. And we trend, and you know, people with that back didn't pass, and then it came to a number, and we had that. This year, I thought the board really did work hard to come to a reasonable budget. I don't know what much more they could cut. You know,
Right.
I'm sorry.
I mean, well, we did still have a surplus of 400 average,
It's gonna be
415,000.
200 and change by the time, potentially with this special ed.
know, and it's hard. I mean, I know right now, in this economy,
Remember, the overall town surplus, without, even with the money that was left at the Board of Ed and then finally turned back, was 46,000. 46,000 came back to the town. The town overall surplus was $1 million. So 950 some odd thousand of that was on the town side, which was all revenues, but
I wish I brought in the data that I receive in a housing newsletter every week as to what's happening to housing prices in Clinton. And we are third from the bottom in sales in Middlesex County, and the overall housing, the price of the average unit decreased by 10% last year. And at the staff meeting I was at yesterday, I said, why is this? And everyone said taxes. In unison, they said taxes. We can't afford to just keep going and going and going. Our real estate base, our brand list, everything is in the decline.
no, brand list went up again. It's gone up every each of the last 3 years.
You know,
I don't know where
really,
you're
it's
getting your
above, I tell you, all I'm dealing with are the facts.
I live in the world of facts. I don't know where you're getting your information. I live in the world.
Okay, all right, I spoke at.
Here's my thing. All right, here's what I'm saying. All right, everybody's got ideas, everybody's got thoughts. I was a little disappointed in the capital committee with what they did, with what they presented on the town side. After I gave a number, and I have 2 selectmen that are on the capital committee. And I said we were at $900,000 last year, and you guys shot back at me 1.3 million, of which I had to cut it down to 950,000. I'm disappointed in the fact, and I know the reductions based on the Board of Ed budget cuts, that the fact that the Board of Ed capital went by $166,000 above last year. Okay? So you guys are on it, and now you're complaining about the numbers. So,
Carol,
okay. So,
Voted down.
so here's what it is. We either, you go with it, you come up with a number. If we were to cut it to just the salary increases, a number reduction, which we can't tell the Board of Ed where to take it from, it would be a reduction of $133,768. Or we say a number. Or we say it's good as is and send it to the Board of Finance. Somebody's got to make a motion.
I move that we send the proposed budget to the Board of Finance.
As is,
As is.
which would be a total of $33,040,331. That includes operating capital and debt service. Okay, do I have a second on that? All right, now we have discussion. Again,
What would you cut out of their capital?
I'm not gonna go there. I won't tell them what to cut out.
I'm not.
I get vilified every year for cutting capital by everybody.
All right.
And, well, I do, and you know what? Okay, the town was falling apart when I got here, it's a lot better shape than it is before I got here. And people could criticize me for cutting capital, so I'm not gonna talk about it. So if somebody wants to amend the motion or make a motion to change Ray's motion, let's do it.
Well, I don't have specific numbers in my head to change it to. Yes, I would like it.
I just gave it, I just said that.
Well, you're still you're still talking about increasing last year's budget by $138,000. I'm talking about keeping the budget flat from last year. I would like to amend the motion to keep the budget flat from last year.
So I said
But
to
we don't have
amend
the
Ray's
numbers.
motion. Any discussion on that? All in favor of keeping the budget flat, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Close.
I oppose too. Okay. So, what are we gonna send to the Board of Finance?
Whatever you say, Willie, because you're going to be the deciding vote.
Well, I just want
Can I
to,
just mention, Carol, when you say in total keep it flat, if you're taking everything in consideration, all 3
You
areas?
can't, no, it's just
Or you're
operating.
just talking operating?
We operate.
Okay,
Can't cut that service.
okay. That would be something.
that would be something.
Right. Yep, I understand there are fixed costs.
So how much is the increase in the salaries?
That would be a reduction wherever they wanted to take it of $133,768. Okay.
Wait a minute. We need, okay, so start that again.
A reduction in the overall budget of $133,768.
From the 33,040,331 figure,
Correct.
138.
133,768. You making that motion?
Yes.
Have a second on that? Nobody gonna second that one?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion on that?
I don't think that's enough.
Okay.
Good to first.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to reduce by 133,768. All in favor of that? Opposed?
Post.
So what are we doing? I'm trying to move it along. Because everybody's got an idea, but nobody wants to say it.
No,
We just made the
No,
motion.
I know.
You said mine,
Dave,
you're adding against
Three.
it.
Oh, okay. So,
Don't
all
say we're not making
Motion
motions.
to send it along as it was.
right, so,
I'm still a little confused about the fuel, and I'm still a little, thinking on the surplus end, that we're clearly gonna have one, and there could be some cut from capital. Carol made very good points at CC, so I'm gonna make a recommendation that we reduce the proposal by $50,000.
50?
Yeah.
The total budget by 50?
anybody make a second on that? Have a second on that? No second, that's gone.
I would like to make a motion to reduce the total budget by $200,000.
Second on that? Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed.
This is fun.
Go back to the original, Ray has an original motion on the table, it's been seconded, maybe we want to revise your motion, Ray?
No.
Back to Ray's original motion, 33,040,331. And I have a second on that. Discussion on that.
By a school population that's declining by a percentage, a significant percentage every year.
Okay.
How do you justify that?
I,
Ray?
Ray, go ahead.
I think it was reasonable, Carol. And I listened last night, I kept an open mind, and I balance that against, we are still in a very difficult economy, and I know there are families.
Exactly, Ray. It's still a very
Yes.
difficult economy. So how are we not thinking of taxpayers who have to come up with more and more and more and more money?
Again, I thought last year it was well over 3%, and that was too much. And that was my breaking point, certainly. But this one here, I mean, I don't know where they're going to come from. And I know that, yes, there will be a surplus, but I don't know how they calculate that. And so I'm not seeing frivolous expenditures. I really didn't see that. And so, when they come in with a reasonable budget, I think we have to say, okay, and present that to the town. If people in town, after examining their conscience and really thinking about what they can afford, shoot it down, well, then we come back to the drawing board. But I don't think this is a ridiculous proposal, and I think if the Board of Finance agrees, then that's what's going to get sent to the voters for the referendum. If the Board of Finance feels there are other cuts to make, I don't agree, but that's their call at that point, and that's where we are.
Okay.
I also saw in the presentation, while they might not feel tremendous given the overall budget, there are some strides being made toward reducing staff where it seems to be necessary or could be done. And an overall understanding, I think, with the town now that there is going to be a surplus and there's going to be a conversation going forward. And those are the things I got out of the presentation last night. And I again, will just second what Ray said. I didn't see crazy expenditures or places that needs to be cut. Except for
Okay. All right. Motion second, any further discussion? To send $33,040,331. All in favor?
Aye.